Welcome to the August 9th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. City Council meeting. We do have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, would you please read the rules of speak?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table in the council chamber. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions or requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all agenda items. Citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a comment card identifying the items of interest. Speakers shall be given 3 minutes per item. However, citizens wishing to speak on more than 3 consent agenda items shall be limited to speaking for a total of 10 minutes, regardless of the number of items. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council shall be placed in the box on the table in the council chamber.
Thank you, Clerk. I appreciate that. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 26, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Minutes are accepted. Turning my page. City Manager.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. We have no special recognition or presentations. We'd like to move agenda item 12B to now, and also add a addendum to that agenda item. The city attorney will describe what that agenda adjust is.
Yes, Council. We received a motion to intervene from Dwight and Lori Sievers regarding the declaratory judgment action that was filed, and they've asked whether or not our client, which is the city, would consent to them intervening. So I would suggest that we add that to the agenda, and we have that right after 12B.
Okay, and to understand, we'd like to move 12B to right now. All right, so the first thing I need to do is get 12B moved to right now. Can I have a motion to move 12B?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor, a second by Member Nelson. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Moved.
And we'd like to add right after 12B, Mr. and Mrs. Sievers' request of motion to intervene, whether you would consent to that intervention.
And so we simply make a motion to allow them to intervene and be part of the process?
Right, at this time, we'll just make a motion to add it to the agenda after 12B, and when that issue comes up,
Right, Vice Mayor.
yes, I'd ask whether or not you have any objection, and then council could advise whether they have any objection or want us to object to the motion to intervene.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we add after 12B, a motion to intervene discussion.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor, second by Member Nelson. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Done.
Item 12B is the Right to Clean Water proposed charter amendment. The Supervisor of Elections has certified that a petition initiated by Speak Up Titusville Incorporated to amend the city charter has secured the required number of signed petitions for the charter amendment petition to be placed on the ballot for the November 8th, 2022 election. Pursuant to Florida Statute 166.031, it is the ministerial duty of the city to place said petition on the ballot at the general election. The city has filed a declaratory judgment action with the court to determine whether the petition language is preempted by Florida Statute 166.0311, and the proposed resolution is subject to any subsequent court order that may adjoin or otherwise invalidate the resolution. The resolution must be forwarded to the supervisor elections not later than August 2022 by 5 o'clock, unless ordered by the court elsewise. Staff is recommending that you approve Resolution 15, 2022, authorizing the referendum election on the Right to Clean Water Charter Amendment.
Okay, council, any comments at this time? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, the only council, the only comment that I have is that if we remember, the only reason why we did the how can you say the word, the declaratory judgment is because based on the information we got, we believe to add this to our ordinances would be illegal. And so, but we, on the other hand, have a problem because our responsibility as duly elected officials is we have to follow the law. And the law says that if you got petitions and you get enough petitions, then we have to send it to the supervisor elections to have it put it on the ballot. And so we're in this catch-22 where we're trying to follow the law, but we believe that if we do this and it becomes law or the citizens vote for it, it still would have to be determined whether it's legal or not. And based on what we know now from Orange County, it's not legal for us to have it. And so we really were trying, this is not about trying to squelch citizens' right to vote on something, because we certainly believe in that. Our challenge we have is the fact that based on what we know, it will be illegal for it to happen. And so we've got to, in my opinion, we've got to vote to have it put on the ballot, but it certainly would be good if we could get the judgment before it's actually put on the ballot to determine whether it's legal or not. And I think that's where we are. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I think that what you're saying is what I'm thinking here. We're not really, it's really not our job to say whether it's legal or illegal. But we do want the judge to see that and make that decision. So we're not making the judgment whether it's legal or illegal. I'm not even sure that's what you were saying, but just for clarification. But what we are doing in our first step is tonight to do the second part, and that is to legally get it on the ballot. And if things change, that comes from a city attorney, not us.
Correct. The resolution is to forward it to the supervisor of election, and it would be subject to, if there is any intervening court orders, then they would be subject to that. And as stated in the report, when you approve the resolution, it will need to be provided to the supervisors of election by 5 o'clock on August 22nd.
Okay, and it's my understanding that as we do the proper thing and move this towards the ballot, the judge makes no movement between now and then. It just stays on the ballot.
It depends on the process, right? And when a judge does grant a hearing or doesn't grant a hearing and how soon. It may still go on the ballot. The judge may not rule until after that, but we don't know. We do have a management conference on August 15th to discuss the procedure, so we'll know more then.
Okay, so that actually is out of our hands, is a
That's
legal
correct.
issue. What is in our hands is doing the proper thing as far as getting it on the
Correct,
ballot.
is the resolution tonight to vote on pursuant to the statute. That's correct.
That's exactly right. Vice Mayor Jordan, are you back?
Yeah, this one bothers me because what could happen is the fact that the people may vote and say, yeah, we want the right to clean water, and then the judge may come after the fact and say this is illegal, and then you're going to have citizens who's going to say you have gone against the people. And that's the concern that I have, and that's why I would rather for the judge to make the decision before it gets on the ballot than after, because you're not going to be able to convince people that you're not trying to take away what they want. And so to me, it would be best if we could get all the stuff taken care of, but we have no control of when the judge decides on this case or not.
That's correct.
The challenge that we do have, though, is if he decides to wait till after the election and he decides that the ballot is not legal, then you're going to have a lot of people in uproar. And that's why I would sure hope that we can push as much as we can legally the judge to make a decision before all this happened. Because there's a lot of work to get those signatures, but it's certainly, I'm telling you, I believe as human beings, it's going to be really bad after the fact when it gets voted overwhelmingly, and then one judge says, nope, you can't do this. So that's my concern.
And I think that we would all agree that the sooner we get this done and the judgment, whatever it is, yay or nay from the judge comes, the better off we are. But in the end, whether he makes that decision before or after, it is a judge's decision, not our decision. The only decision we make right now is getting this legally on the ballot. Anybody else? Call the cards, please.
Yvette Bliss,
I'm sorry. Oh. I didn't hear.
My name is Yvette Fliss, and I would like you to seriously consider that because there are so many cards were collected, putting it on the ballot is the legal thing to do. And I hope you go by your legal responsibilities from we who have put you in your position. It's what we want. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Next card, please.
Stan Johnston,
There's those monkeys again.
Oh, you're starting my time.
Well,
well.
you're there.
All right, so Sarah's got it now. I put these monkeys out here because there's some things going on that is directly connected to the will of the people and what power the people have. And you've seen a number of signs before. You've seen these signs like Titusville cover up of barbaric crimes and so forth. And I have that here. And the sewage spill, boiled water alert, and so forth like that. There's just a lot of terrible things happening in the city of Titusville, and when we go to council, we don't get proper answers in none of those issues. 176 parts per trillion, we don't get those answers. For example, is that when we had the sewage spill, and when we had spraying the people with sewage, I went to the police department. I want you to understand is I got a police report filed on you guys. And then nothing happens. Police says contact somebody else, like Water Resource. Water Resource, what do? Nothing. So what do they say? Contact FDEP, contact FDEP, contact the health department, contact the governor. Nobody does anything. EPA, nobody. Florida Today, nothing. So the people don't have any power. This is trying to give people a power. I have no power. In other words, I have come to you innumerable times, almost every council meeting, and complained about that I don't have any rights. You're not listening to me. You don't respond to my emails. You don't return my phone calls. This is a way that hopefully that I'll have a voice because you've silenced just about everything I do. And here I am, a professional engineer, and that guy over there, he doesn't even have an engineering degree. And he's telling you it's okay to spray people with piss and poop. And what do you say? Oh, it's fine. And I read all these letters about people getting sick and so forth. And what do? Nothing. For example, look here. Oh, I don't have it. But remember that thing about fraud? That's ORB and Page. This thing about sewage spill, that's ORB and Page. This is on your permanent records. I want you to understand that. I'm not getting this government is not of the people, by the people, for the people. This is of the government, by the government, and for the government. It stinks. You guys aren't helping. And I think that you don't really need to do what you're doing on this. You can let it run its course, but you want to interfere. Mr. Jordan, you understand is that it'll go to court anyways. Even if, for example, the city of Titusville does not get it stopped, it's going to go to court anyways. In other words, it'll be contested in court if it's not contested before. So I think y'all can let it go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next card, please.
Kate Perez,
Kathleen Perez, 3025 South Washington Avenue. I have a question, if I may. I'm confused about what changed from the last time we argued about this, and you were going to hire a lawyer to look into this, correct? Is that what you mean by the judge? A lawyer?
No, as an attorney, we can only file the pleadings. The judge has to make a decision.
Okay, but
On a
we were
declaratory
going to
judgment.
hire an outside attorney to do this?
Yes,
And we did hire one?
yes.
And what did that cost the taxpayers like myself?
It's by the hour. It's $250 an hour, I believe. It was provided at the last meeting.
Oh, $250 an hour.
I
Okay.
believe. I don't have it in front of
Okay,
me.
so it appears to me that what's going on, and I've been a member of Speak Up Titusville Right to Clean Water since the start, as has my husband and Tony and some other people here. We spent about a year getting these signatures. It took a lot of work. And so it seems to me like you guys kind of let the tail wag the dog a little bit in this situation, because laws get struck down all the time. You know that, right? So we spent a bunch of the taxpayers' money and to try and see if there was a way not to put it on the ballot, right? And now we're back to, well, it might get put on the ballot, it might get struck down, but what was all that waste of money and time then? Because now we are putting it on the ballot, but a judge can still strike it down. And this idea that you keep saying, Mr. Jordan, about, well, we don't want to do it if it's not legal. You're following now the legal process of putting it on the ballot like the voters wanted, because we followed the legal process to get that right. And it's not legal at this moment for you to take that right away from us. And you saying that people, well, once they vote for it, they're going to be so upset if the judge strikes it down and you guys might get the blame. Well, A, you're already getting the blame. And B, it sounds like what you're saying is, but then more people will know that they almost had it. That's what it almost sounds like you're saying. Right now, it's just our 4,000 plus citizens of Titusville. But then everybody in Titusville will see that that happened and you might get the blame. If I were you, I'd rather have stayed out of the way if I want to avoid the blame. That's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Ms. Perez? Ms. Perez? I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. It's, you said a lot,
Okay.
but as far as I'm concerned, you're not hearing what we're saying. We have never said that we didn't believe that it should be on the ballot if it was legal. We were told that because of our responsibilities, we are supposed to follow the law. The law that's on the books right now says you can't have that type of ordinance. If we were, you can switch it, it is the truth. You may not like it, just because I'm saying it and you don't like it doesn't make it not true. So just understand this. We're trying to follow the law. I have no doubt that we're going to vote to put it on the ballot, because that's a legal thing. We got two things that we're working with. Number one, if you get the number of people to put it on the ballot, we have, by law, have to put it on the ballot.
I know.
The second part is that we can't be putting things on the ballot that we know is illegal.
But you
It will
don't know.
not-
Yeah.
That's right, and that's why we are trying to find out before it gets on the ballot so that there won't be a problem. To me, it's reasonable to do that. Rather, you like the way we're doing it, you're asking us to just set aside and not do our jobs. And that is something that we can't do. I understand you worked hard. I keep telling you, I understand you worked hard for this. I need for the process to work, but we're in a catch-22 with this one because you got one law that says we got to put it on the ballot and another law that says it would be illegal if we did it. And so we're trying to make sure we're doing everything legal by the book. And the question about, it costing a certain amount of money, it'll cost a whole lot more money for people to sue when they find out that we're putting something on the books that is illegal. You'll be fighting it. We'll have to fight it. The state have to fight it because they are the ones that made the rules.
But we
It
don't know
wasn't
yet
us.
if it's illegal.
Exactly, and that's what we're
find out.
trying to do, because you asked the question whether we had hired an attorney. We did hire an attorney who understands this stuff, and he's the one that will be arguing again with the judge to determine if this is or is not legal. And we need to know that, because we don't want to put something on the ballot and it turns out that it's illegal, because we won't be able to do anything with it. Even though 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people will vote for this thing and say, yeah, this is what we want, it really would look at, forget about us looking bad or anything like that. Forget about all that. The bottom line is we have to make sure it's legal. That's it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Member Stokel?
Yeah, I think Vice Mayor kind of touched on what I was going to say. Just so we're clear, my rationale behind all of this from the beginning has been I did have some concerns on the verbiage and the language that led me to believe that it needed to be reworked. So that's why I was not in favor of it to go on the ballot. Then the signatures came. And all throughout this discussion, I recall the city attorney mentioning some potential issues. So I don't feel like we're like all of a sudden now coming. It was we had these concerns prior, which is why we as council did not vote to put on the ballot, as you guys remember, just because of the language. And so to the vice mayor's point, so say for instance, we wanted to do no smoking in downtown Titusville. But there's a lot of voters that want that. We want that. It's preempted by the state. We couldn't do that. So even if we had a ballot initiative and we voted on it, it would be struck down because it's illegal. And so with this language, it's very murky, which is why I do want to do the due diligence of making sure that we can do this process and it is legal. That's where I'm coming from. I commend the efforts because I think we all want the right to clean water. We all care about the lagoon. We all care about all water in Titusville. It's about what I feel like I can do in my role up on council to make sure we can do that from a legal standpoint the best way possible. So I hope, I don't want citizens to feel that we're trying to block or prevent citizens from having clean water, from doing a ballot initiatives. I feel like I have a duty to make sure that we are following the law and we're doing it in the best possible way while saving taxpayer dollars. So that's my perspective and where I'm coming from.
And I'll just follow that up by saying that our first legal obligation, and it's been said up here several times, is to get it on the ballot. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the legal aspect shifts to the judge, and then he tells us if, yeah, it's okay, leave it there, it's legal, or no, you can't do that, because we can't have something that the judge deems illegal on there. So we don't decide if it's supposed to be there, but it's our job, I think, to put it on there. Member Nelson?
And I agree with Sarah. This is something I didn't talk to Kate about it. I talked to Tom about it. I talked to Mike Myjack about it. The language was really murky and was causing me some problems. But you guys had gone so far with it at that point that there was no starting over. So that's why I was talking to Mike and Tom about the constitutional amendment being something that can trump the legislators. And I see Tom out there with the constitutional amendment and getting signatures. Hopefully that'll work really well. But I think we need to find out if this has gone past muster. We have a couple months before it has to go on the ballot, although I'm sure they have their printing requirements. But I think we need to find out now rather than later. So, and Tom, keep working.
He is, just saw him. Cards, please.
Bill Klein.
I'm Bill Klein from Titusville, live at 3 Indian River Avenue. I have a couple comments about putting this on the ballot. I feel you all really are required to put it on the ballot since it met that legality. The other thing that I hear a lot about is sometimes there's laws of local rule that don't jibe with state rule. And it doesn't say that the law that local rule has is wrong. It just says it can't be enforced. Therefore, I feel that it is This is a legal ballot. That's a local ballot. Later on, if the state says, we don't think the people in Titusville are entitled to clean water, therefore it's illegal. That could happen. But you keep saying this is illegal because in Orange County, someone said it was illegal. But Orange County's law said water has the right to be clean. Water has the right to be safe. They said water and nature have no rights. People have rights. Now, our bill says the people are entitled to clean water. We have the right to clean water. We're not saying water has the right to be clean. We're saying the people are entitled to clean water, to drink, to swim in, to fish in. That's the difference between our law and Orange County's law. And I think once your lawyer understands that we are giving the people the right to have clean, safe water, I don't see how he can say it's illegal for us to have clean, safe water. And that's my impression. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. I see no questions. Thank you.
Mayor.
Oh, all right, back up. Jeez.
Oh, no, it's not a question.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can we
I'm
have
sorry.
can Stan remove his monkeys from
Yeah,
the?
well,
Thank you.
I just noticed those.
I'll give them to Stan.
Stan,
Oh, they're fine. I don't
Mr.
mind.
Klein, he left you
I
the
like
monkeys.
I've always liked monkeys.
All right, thank you, Member Stokel. City Clerk.
Last card is Dwight Severs.
As my card, Dwight Severs for the record, as my card indicated, I'm available if you have any questions concerning the motion to intervene. It's my understanding in talking with Mr. Broom, he's recommending or he has no objection to my wife and I's intervention. And certainly I know you're going to do the right thing by putting it on the ballot, so I don't want to get into all of that. So, yeah.
Member Stokel.
Yeah, I just have what does motion to intervene exactly mean, Dwight? Like what are you hoping to do?
Essentially, my wife and I feel as though we have an interest in the outcome of the issue pending before the court. Specifically, no one is a defendant in this proceeding that signed the petition. We signed the petition. We're registered voters. We live on the Indian River. We receive water, sewer services, etc. So we have an interest in the outcome. And that's essentially what you have to show to intervene.
And you'll be able to speak and share things. Is that
I'm subordinate to the main defendant, that is Speak Up Titusville.
okay?
And I
Gotcha.
understand the rules,
Perfect.
but we have an interest in the proceeding.
Okay. No, thank you.
Member Nelson.
I just want to say thank you for doing this. We appreciate it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
lawyers have different opinions.
Always. Always.
So time will tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But you-
please don't take that the wrong way, that I'm being disrespectful to anybody, because I just want to make sure it's properly heard, adjudicated on the merits of the issue, and we go from there.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think we
That's what we need.
As Member Nelson said, appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any more cards? All right. As I said several times, our job at this moment is to get it on the ballot. So I need that motion if that's what you want to do.
I move to approve the resolution number 15, 2022, authorizing a referendum election to the right to clean water proposed charter amendment.
I have the motion by Member Nelson, the second by Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes,
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
unanimously onto the ballot. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Mayor, I think we need to do the motion.
Oh, we have a second one. Okay, so we still have the second one. Well, that one was fine.
You're right.
Yeah, okay, so we need the second one. Go ahead.
And we need a motion to allow
Right.
Mr. Severs and his wife to intervene.
We have another card.
Oh, your light's not on.
All right, let me get a motion for Mr. Severs.
Mayor,
Got it.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Mayor,
Okay.
we have a card.
I believe the question
have a
is
card?
this is a separate item,
Yes.
and we have a card,
Okay.
one card on this item.
Okay, card on the second motion.
Stan Johnston.
I would think that would begin with, in other words, normally when you have something to discuss with, and somewhere you believe you discussed it, you just had a vote on the first issue. Now, I don't see that you really discussed it. I mean, there was some
Let's go.
discussion.
Yeah,
But anyhow, let me say is that it appears to me, and I don't know with Mr. Severs, is that when I went to business law, is they talk about a moot point. And it sounds like we're getting close to that as a moot point because we don't have a case. There's no defendant, in other words, we're testing a law without actually the plaintiff and the defendant and so forth in this case. So, I question whether there's a moot point here. In other words, when you do a moot point, what happens? Ms. Nelson should know. What do they do?
I do.
What do they do?
When it's moot, it's already decided.
Well, in other words, you throw it out of court. That's what, in other words, when it's the moot point, it's thrown out of, in other words, so I'm hopefully that this is what'll happen, is that it'll be a moot point that's thrown out of court. So, and that's the problem that I tried to explain to you, is that the issue on this particular issue, it has to do with standing. In other words, right now, for example, when you go to court, there's not going to be anybody there standing. In other words, asking for standing. So I understand is what I explained to you just before in the previous little exposition I had is that I was seeing the city of Titusville break all kinds of laws as far as the sewage spill, as far as spraying people with piss and poop. So I went to the police, I went to all kinds of places, a Department of Health and everything like that. And what do you think I got as a citizen? I got nothing. I want standing. I don't have it. In other words, right now, what I have to do is I have to put ORB in pages. I report you, make permanent records on you guys, ORB in pages. And that's what I've been doing. So that's what you're going to put up with. In other words, when you go to court.
Stop the clock. Are you talking about Dwight Severs in this motion?
Exactly.
Or I haven't, look, you were, and then you left
Exactly.
it.
No, in other words,
clock.
when you're talking about standing and so forth, that's what this is talking about.
Talk about
In
your
other words,
feelings
in
about
other
that.
words, does the public have a standing on these issues? You see, like I'm telling you, in other words, when I go and I have problems and I see the city of Titusville violating laws, I come to the city of Titusville and they do nothing. I come to the council and they do nothing. I come to nobody does anything. They just let it go. And then what I'm talking about is the boiled water alert. Finally, you did something. You had a second explanation. I'm talking about the sewage spill. I'm talking about spraying people with sewage. I'm talking about 176 parts per trillion. None of these things that you address. You just ignore them, completely deny them, ignore them. And that's not right. You're not doing right. That's why I'm here, because you're not doing what you're doing right. You're not doing what's right. Thank you.
Any other cards on that one? All right. Vice Mayor, or whoever's up.
She can go ahead and do it.
I move to allow the Severs to intervene in the declaratory action for the right to clean water proposed charter amendment. Will that do it?
Correct. He has a motion to intervene. Just, it's up to the judge to allow it, but you're telling me that you
We had
consent
no-
to it and we have no objection to
Right.
that motion.
No
Correct.
objections. All right, we have the motion from Member Nelson, the second by Vice Mayor. Oh, that's it. I don't see your name.
She's eating.
Roll call vote.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes. And however you say that motion, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Dwight?
And council, we're back to boards and commission item 6A, which is the Titusville Environmental Commission. Currently, there are two applications on file for your consideration, Mr. Robert Johnston and Mr. Todd St. Louis. Both have expressed their willingness to serve on the Titusville Environmental Commission as regular members with an unexpired term to expire on 30 November 2022. Mr. William Young currently serves as an alternate member with the term to expire on 30 November 2024. However, he does not wish to be considered as a regular member at this time. Staff has attempted to contact alternate member Yvette Fleiss via email and phone, but has not received a response. The application.
Oh, things just changed.
Okay, the applications are attached for your consideration, and we have one additional late applicant, a Mr. Hector
Hold up.
Delgato, who we
Hector
received his
Delgado.
application on yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, and it seems as though perhaps the person you're trying to contact as the alternate is here. Okay, and we don't have an application in on that one right now?
The clerk was not able to make contact with her, right?
Yes, my staff made a phone call and email, so I don't know if we have the wrong contact information for you.
All right, Member Robinson.
Oh, my light is on.
Okay. The first thing I would say is you have an alternate who we weren't able to get in touch with, which won't be very hard to get in touch with at this time. So I think that's important. And we have another application that came in, but is not within the time frame that we can consider tonight. I think that I'd like council to address both those issues. Member Nelson?
I would like to bump that out so that, one, we have your application and we can consider it. We have Mr. Delgado's application and we can consider it and make a decision even at the next meeting.
And with that, I guess I should at least ask the alternate who was just named, you are interested in this position?
Okay.
Okay, so that would be an added one that we weren't able to get in touch with, an application we just received recently, and then we have the two other applications. So your thought was, again, I'm sorry?
My thought was to kick it out either 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Maybe if we kicked it out 4 weeks, we might even get more applications.
Are they short? Are they short on TEC?
They are having challenges
Then 2 weeks.
gathering a quorum. They have two members that are on
Oh,
vacation.
that's right.
So yes.
Yeah.
And one's on,
So 2 weeks.
on vacation, but one's away for a while.
Okay, so can I suggest 2 weeks?
Yeah. If that's a motion, I'll second that, but
Hold on, I got some people who got buttons. But
no, I do have a question. I don't know her name.
Yvette.
Okay.
Fliss.
All right.
Come on up, yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes,
Oh, I just wanted to know your name.
Oh,
my name is, my name is Yvette.
Well, while you're there,
Okay.
while you're there, and you have the microphone, I will repeat what I said before. So you will be interested in moving to the permanent position.
Sure.
Permanent is a strong word, but the position.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to get that said. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Member Stokel.
Yep. Obviously, if there's cards, we can let them speak, but I'm in favor of moving it out 2 weeks as well. And then us being able to hopefully vote in 2 weeks on the new member.
That certainly adds depth to the lineup. Are there any cards?
We have one, Stan Johnston.
Okay, hold on that a second. Just see where we're at here. So we're not going to do cards, but right now the thought is to push it out 2 weeks because we have at least two new applicants. Okay, Mr. Johnston.
Stan Johnson, I was hoping that you weren't going to table it because TEC they had their meeting canceled last time because they didn't have a quorum. So I want you to understand this is pretty serious because they have some absences because of vacations and so forth, and so they didn't have a quorum and they have a lot of business to take care of. So I was hoping that you could act tonight on it. You know, whether you get Yvette Fleece, because she's highly qualified. I think I'm highly qualified. I've given you my little card here, and I've worked on partly on a master's degree in environmental engineering at FTU, whatever that is, FTU, I don't know, nobody knows anymore. And I have a lot of credentials and even, you know, about the 176 and so forth, parts per trillion, and trying to keep up to date and being in the Navy and having a number of my friends die from, or just injured and so forth because of the Agent Orange or other things that happened in the, not PTSD, but sicknesses because of service, time in service. And I was exposed to asbestos and so forth and in the service. And so I'm familiar with that. I'm from West Virginia. That's where the PFAS was, the horrible thing happened. It was in Parkersburg, West Virginia, where all the cows were bleeding from the nose and dying and so forth. And people said no. And they had birth defects. In other words, they had birth defects, several birth defects, one nostril and some kind of a hole in a retina or something like that. Several births were done that because of the PFAS, but they said, well, we don't seem to have a connection. And there was a settlement and so forth. So right now, officially, there's no birth defects from PFAS, officially. And all these cows and deer and so forth that died of this contamination from the PFAS, and they still say, oh, well, maybe it's harmful to humans. Huh. So we have all these kidneys and liver problems and so forth. Well, anyhow, I'm going to let you go because you need to think about this. But if anything, I would if you don't want me, take Yvette. She's a good girl, and I believe she'll do a good job for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. No other cards?
We received one additional card from Tony Schifolo.
Tony Schifolo, 715 Norwood, Tropic Street. I wasn't going to say anything, but Stan hit on a very important fact, and that's the TEC has a lot of work, a lot of things to consider with the urban forest program, and we all came to the meeting the other night, except there was not a quorum. Let me just get the procedure straight. You had two candidates who had their applications in and were contacted and were meeting the requirements set for applying for this position. Am I correct in that? You had two candidates? The clerk, well, I read in the agenda that you had two applications and both were standing. And so I appreciate the fact that other people have stepped forward now at the last minute, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. November 30th, 2022, that's in November, this position will be up. You've got two candidates who qualified, who met the requirements and met the timeline. You've got two people now who are interested. What if you get, the day before the next meeting, you get another applicant who would be desirable? You can't just keep putting this off. TEC has a lot of work to do. I would recommend that you follow through and vote on one of the two candidates that you have been presented who met the requirements of getting filed on time.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Vice Mayor Jordan? Are there any other cards? Yes. All right, anybody else? All right. I guess what we need to do now is decide what we want to do. Do we want to move forward? Do we want to hold it for 2 weeks and get that motion out there and allow the other two to come aboard? Not aboard, but to be viable candidates. I need to hear where we're going with that. Member Stokel?
Yep. I'm still in favor of tabling. I think we've done that in the past when we've only had one or two applicants because we want to have more of a pool and actually kind of go through them and pick who we think will be best for the board and its purposes. So I would be in favor of tabling to our next meeting to vote on a person at that point in time.
Thank you. Member Nelson?
And I would agree with Sarah. I think tabling it for 2 weeks would be good. Then we'll have Yvette's, her application, and from what I remember talking to her, she seems like an outstanding candidate. But that will allow us to have that and look at the other application. So I would like to to table it for 2 weeks. So that would be my motion.
Are we only in need of replacing or adding, or however it is, one?
Right.
Seems like we should not have the quorum issue if we're only needing one. So if we're only adding one, I mean, I think that, the 2-week period, not beyond that, the decision has to be made. Quite honestly, I believe that's election day. So that being said, I would take a motion at this time.
You got it.
The-
You have
Member
it.
Nelson.
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Jordan. The motion is to table this until the next meeting, which is 2 weeks, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
Discussion, yeah, just listening to Ms. Schifolo, one of the rationale for doing this also is the second applicant is actually from MIMS. And you normally try to have applicants from the city, so the other two applicants are in the city of Titusville. So that's another reason why we should do it. Thank
So
you.
take us from 1 to 3, and all 3 would be solid. All right, we have the motion, we have the second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Okay, we have moved to table this for the other two applicants to make their move, and one way or the other, make a decision in 2 weeks. City Manager.
On to item 6B, which is the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. The Board of Adjustment and Appeals semi-annual report is included in your agenda packet. No actions required.
No action required. City Manager.
On to item 6C, which is the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission's semi-annual report is included in your agenda packet. No actions required.
Thank you very much. And again, planning and zoning, it is in your packet. No action required. That moves us to petitions and requests. From the public, got a couple.
Tony Schifolo, the historic Norwood House.
It's historic.
I got to make a disclaimer. I am here as a private citizen making a statement about being allowed to represent the city of Titusville in a more official capacity. I come before you as an adversary so many times, I'm reluctant to let the chance pass by to stand before council with compliments. Recently, council approved a request by your Historic Preservation Board to send a delegate to the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation's conference in DeLand at the end of July. I was the fortunate member who got to attend. This conference focused on the revitalization of downtown districts through preservation, renovation, and adaptive reuse of existing structures, especially those of historic significance. The Preservation on Main Street conference also had many sessions on rediscovering and documenting underserved communities and populations, the economic and social factors involved with that discovery, and the resiliency in face of rising coastal waters, all issues relevant to our town. At the last minute, our staff person was unable to attend the Secretary of State's awards banquet, so I was able to stand in and accept for the City of Titusville's Historic Preservation Board the Florida Preservation Award for Outstanding Achievement in Preservation Communications and Media for the HPB's Explore Historic Titusville
Yeah,
booklet
I remember
and interactive website. I'm here now to say thank you for your support and forethought in sending a delegate to this conference. I came back with a notebook full of inspiration, a head full of ideas, and a heart full of hopes to make Titusville better through preservation of our resources, both historical and natural. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the conference a lot.
Thank you so much. That was very nice. Appreciate that. That was very nice. And that booklet was amazing. I remember that. Petitioner's request.
Bill Klein, 3 Indian River Avenue, Titusville, Florida. The last city meeting, I talked to you all about meeting with Kevin Cook and several others to talk about combining the North US 1 Gateway project with making some changes in the park. We had a very good meeting. One thing I did find out, I was mistaken that there was a North US 1 Gateway planned. What it is, there's a sign plan that's on US 1, which is going to be near Dairy Road. So there really isn't a gateway project. Therefore, what I was proposing doesn't need to be coordinated with a gateway. And Kevin Cook gave us a lot of good information of who we should contact, when it comes to trying to do some more cleaning up of the pond or the duckweed. Sandra Reller was there, was telling us what she was doing. They're working very hard on it. We found out that a lot of the area right around the intersection of US 1 is controlled by the FDOT and not by Titusville, which I didn't know. So in order to meet some of the requirements of a scenic byway, which that is a scenic byway, we should have discussions with the FDOT. So what we found out from Kevin Cook is names of who to contact, organizations of who's responsible, and I think it was a very good meeting, and I thank you for allowing us to have that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Appreciate your interest and your passion for everything you do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Marla Spreckle. I live at 3 Indian River Avenue. When I married Bill, I didn't realize at first, but I married into a family of sailors. And Bill's sister and her husband are retired now, but they were college professors, and they spent their summers living on their boat. So when we went to visit them, wherever they were, we were going to stay on the boat. So that gave me I grew up in Iowa. What do I know about boats? But that gave me an appreciation for sailors and for the marina here. Now, I live quite near Sandpoint Park, and I live near CBS, and I live near Save-A-Lot. And so I can recognize, I'm starting to recognize a boater when I see one. And boaters don't have a car. They have a bike, usually a fold-up one that they keep on their boat, or they walk. So when they come from the marina, they walk down that sidewalk on the west side of Sandpoint Park to get to either CVS or Save-A-Lot to buy supplies. And most boats you can't keep a whole lot of supplies on. So, and they have a little refrigerator like on an RV or something. And I'm a person that I talk to strangers. So I'm in Sandpoint Park a lot, or I'm at CVS or Save-A-Lot from time to time. One day I was sitting in the parking lot while Bill went in Save-A-Lot to get some milk, and there's interesting bicycles there, and I thought, I bet those people are from the marina. So they come out, and I said, nice bikes. Are you staying at the marina? I don't know how many people, do you know how many people stay there? How much money that marina brings in? How many people it brings into the city? I have no idea. But some people I know would stay for just a couple of days to use the laundromat and the showers that are there. And some people might come and stay for a month or more. And they have to walk down that sidewalk that has no shade. And that sidewalk, I understand from what we learned from Kevin, is kind of in the right-of-way property. And they're planning to dig that up when they do more water and sewer work. So you can, and nobody wants a great big tree by a sidewalk anyway, because those big roots get bigger and bigger and dig it up. But maybe we could put some shade, plant some stuff a distance from the sidewalk so it would be shady and attractive for all those people that are walking back and forth up to that marina. That's all.
Yeah, good observation. I don't see that every day like you do, but that makes sense. Next petition and request.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsett Avenue. I've lived here over 50 years, and I'm surprised at what Bill's talking about because I've been out there. And there's something out there that you should take notice of. Anybody know what it is? It's right there in the median. Can't believe it. Who can tell me what it is? What kind of tree is that out in the median? It's a Melaleuca. Can you believe we have a Melaleuca in the median right there in the entrance to the U.S.? A Melaleuca. Now, what do we know about Melaleuca? How many millions and millions and millions of dollars have we spent in the state of Florida getting rid of Melaleuca? And so we have right here in the middle of US 1 a Melaleuca that's seeding all these other Melaleucas in our community. FDOT. Can you believe that? I'm talking about, in other words, he's talking about a place and he's talking about the gateway. And here we have in our gateway, we have a Melaleuca tree right in the middle of the median. Been there for years. Is that nonsense? Okay. All right. So actually I came here to speak about something else. And that is something that's not on the agenda, is that is there somebody who's leaving after 37 years? Anybody know who that is? Ms. Bisaki, do you know who that is?
No, sir, I've only been here 10.
Okay. Well, but you've been serving the community and the county and so forth for many years. Okay? So thank you for your service. And she's going to be greatly missed by me. She used to be one of my bosses when I worked at the county. And she was a good girl there. Did a great job there. And I don't know what we're going to do without her. And I've suggested to her is that even though she wants to go and play now, is that she goes and becomes a consultant so that we can still access some things, because she's got some things that we really need. And I'm sorry to see her go, but you know, it doesn't last forever. All good things come to an end. So thank you for your service, Peggy. Good job. I want you all to think about what happened here is that we're going to court. It's supposed to be pretty soon. It has to do with a number of people in the city, and it has to do with me. And so please pay attention, because just understand that the survey for this, who said that it said that the city has that the people have no legal access. He's reversed his statement. He says they do have legal access. So this project, SNJ Oaks, has been designed assuming that these people have no legal access. So it's all wrong. It's all wrong. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think y'all should pay attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Anybody else with petitions or requests? City Manager.
On to consent agenda item. City Council, are there any questions that you may have from staff on agenda items A through H? City Council, do you want to pull any of the consent agenda items A through H? City Clerk, are there any cards for the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. We have one individual that has signed up for 5 items. We have another individual on item 8D, and one other individual that signed up for 2 items, which is 8B and 8H.
Mayor and Council, with your permission, I'd like to read the titles for the record.
Thank you, sir.
Consent agenda item 8A, approve the emergency purchase for a replacement main transformer for Area 3 Wellfield. Consent agenda item 8B, approve the countywide JAG grant for prisoner transport. Consent agenda item 8C, approve and appropriate the forfeiture funds for crime prevention National Night Out. Consent agenda item 8D, accept the award grant from Florida Department of Environmental Protection, grant awarded for Community Resilience Stewardship Program. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the fueling system improvements. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the interlocal agreement between Brevard County First Responders Agencies and Brevard Public Schools. Consent agenda item G, approve the contract award to purchase 2 replacement effluent pumps for the Blue Heron Water Reclamation Facility. And consent agenda item 8H, approve the purchase of the MDS radios for Water Resources SCADA telemetry upgrade project.
Thank you, City Manager. Council, any comments at this time? Call the cards, please.
Nathan Slusher on 8E.
Forgive me for bringing my laptop. I have notes.
There you go.
Nathan Slusher at 860 Allendale Street. I'm speaking on 8D, which is the resiliency grant from the FDEP. Just to clarify from my understanding, this grant is to initiate a program because based on the reading of the materials provided in the agenda, the sea levels are projected to put the city of Titusville underwater. So I actually got really interested in this one today and dove into it, did actual research on this. I wanted to read up on the program. This grant is not just a fund out grant of 30 grand. This is a matching fund payout after grant. So in other words, we'll pay $60,000, and then once we deliver all 3 items, we get $30,000 back. So the city will spend 60 in Titusville funds, Titusville taxpayer funds, and we get $30,000 back from federal taxpayer funds, from my understanding of this. If you look at page 61, it breaks down the 3 tasks, the 3 deliverables we have to do. And the way the plan is based in the agenda, what I'm seeing, is we're going to spend $20,000 to build a questionnaire to ask our city staff what they know about climate change. Then we're going to spend $20,000 to develop short and long-term goals for the city to share with the public and a plan on how to distribute that to the public. And then we're going to, deliverable number 3 is to spend $20,000 to train somebody for continuing program after this is said and done. I am not a climate change denier. I understand that human beings have effects on the climate, and the more we scale population, the more it's going to affect things. However, if this is really a serious issue, if we are genuinely concerned that the city will be underwater, why has this presentation never popped up? Why have we never had this discussion at City Council in the last 2 years that I've heard? If it was before then, I apologize, but I haven't heard it. I instantly get red flags thrown anytime a subject like this or any subject comes up for the first time. That's a very serious subject when there's money to get. If this is a real concern, and we are concerned about downtown and Parish Medical Center going underwater, then I think we need to have a presentation. I think we need to pull this item and have a real conversation about it and not just pass through another program. Thank you.
I can't, and I will ask Sean or city manager or somebody to give a little more information on that. But I will say that I recall at least 2 presentations, full presentations on the water, because I remember the first time I ever heard it. It may have been beyond 2 years. I can't go into that. But I remember the PowerPoint. I remember the water being on the slides, Highway 50 and US 1 was a problem. I remember those things. So it's at least been 2 full presentations on that issue exactly. I can't tell you exactly when they were, but
in addition to that, sir, we actually had several workshops.
Yeah, that's like you're talking about. It's a very important issue. I don't think I've ever seen 2 full presentations in a workshop. It's been. I want to remember when I first heard it. Maybe my rookie year in 2016, I wasn't very aware of that sort of thing, and they made it very clear that this is real and this is serious. And here's the years, and here's what we're getting. And like I said, 2 presentations and at least a full day workshop. Go ahead, and I'm going to let Ms. Busaka speak, and she can get with you if you need her, or if she needs you. Ms. Busaka, you want to add to that, please?
I was just going to say that this is really the second step. We've already done one resiliency plan. You may remember that we worked with the Regional Planning Council, who came up with a report, citizen input. We presented to you as mentioned several times. So this is just ongoing in that project, and it is required by state law that we have a resiliency plan.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main deals at that time, that by state law, we have to return a plan on what we're doing, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. It was even 50-year plan. It was way out there. Thank you very much, Ms. Basaka. Member Nelson?
I just remember the plan included trying to start moving building sewer away from the river because of the flooding problems. And we had community meetings. I remember people being in here. This is ongoing. This is not anything new. So I think at this point, what we're talking about is educating the public, getting the word out. And I think we had the FEMA map, and it was 2040, 2060, 2080. 2080 was scary.
Plan, that resiliency plan is available on the city's website.
Yeah.
Under the Community Development Department.
Thank you.
Member Stokel?
Yep. Peggy, can you speak to the 30,000 matching? Because when I read it, it says this can include in-kind services as well.
That's correct. It will be the staff time that's required.
So
to
we're not putting in 30,000. It's all
No,
just staff
there,
time.
no,
That's what
it
I
will be
thought.
in-kind services.
All right, thank you.
Member Robinson?
Yes, I wasn't, in my last capacity, I was involved with a lot of discussions about the flooding and everything. So we did, it was quite a big deal, quite an education that the community received on that.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Nathan, for the question. Next card.
We have Trenton Mansfield, and he has signed up for item 8B and 8H. Do you want to do 3 minutes apiece on these items?
I'm gonna forfeit the H.
Okay, you're going to
So I'm
forfeit
just gonna
H?
speak on
Okay.
the one. My name is Trenton Mansfield. I live off of Pentax Avenue in Titusville. I'm speaking on B. That I just read it, the actual agenda item on the handout there. It's from the Department of Justice, and this is for prisoner transportation. It's the jails. It's the sheriff's office responsibility to transport inmates from the jail to prisons, and also the jail to the courthouse. And it's our responsibility for our prisoners to be transported via police vehicles to the jail. So I read over it, and it said that all the cities in Titusville have to agree in order for this $144,504 to be approved. I drive a prisoner transport bus, and that's about what they cost. But my question is why is the cities of the Brevard County putting forth money that's coming from the federal government, which in turn is increasing inflation? I mean, it's a small step. I mean, we just passed $750 billion just the other day. If it's not passed, it's going to pass. But they have 2 or 3 buses, because there's a community work release center right down past the jail, and I pass by that jail all the time. And the work release center that the state used to own, the jail now owns, and there's 2 or 3 buses that sit right there, and they don't use them very often. So my question is why do they need another one? And why are the cities approving it? So I don't know if y'all can answer that.
Staff, do you have a retort for that, please?
My understanding is that all the cities have to cooperate and agree on the grant, and it's a federal grant.
Yeah, that's what I understand too, but why are the cities collaborating to come up with the
It's the
sheriff's?
way the grant's written.
So again, I'm sorry?
It's the way the grant's written.
And who's the grant come from?
Federal government.
Okay, so it's really kind of we need to do this.
Yes, sir.
And that's because that's how the grant is done.
That's correct.
All right, you need to do it because you feel like you need to do it, or it's a law, or you just feel like it needs to be done?
Can I add?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is my recollection of it from prior years, and we don't have a whole lot of information on it in this particular agenda package, but something they do every year. And my understanding is that the agencies get together, and basically it pays for the sheriff transporting the prisoners as
get it.
opposed to the individual agencies.
No. This police department transports the inmate to the county jail.
Right.
They sit there, they get sentenced to wherever they get sentenced to. It's
Okay.
their job to transport them back and forth. to the courthouse. It's
Right.
not the city's job, it's the county's job. And then it's their job to take them from the county jail to the Central Florida Reception Center,
Right.
which is 62 miles round trip.
Right.
So why are the cities saying, okay, we authorize this when it's the sheriff, which has his own budget set aside, which in turn, I believe, is raising the federal debt up because who runs the city? The federal government or the city?
The city runs the city.
Right.
That was my
That
understanding.
was a rhetorical question.
So I got it. And we can hold off on this and give further clarification. But that was my understanding. So if I'm wrong,
No, you're not. And the cities in the county have to cooperate in order for the Brevard County Sheriff to receive this grant.
Right.
Go ahead, Member Robinson.
Yes, and that's, as I read it, that's all it is. If we agree, it doesn't, the grant will not be awarded if all of the cities don't agree with the
And then it'll
process.
rely on the sheriff to
compile
transport
all
the
that, yeah,
prisoners,
compile.
because the sheriff also has a very large budget.
Right, yeah.
And he
that's,
also has prisoner transport vehicles that are already sitting there. I
Okay.
drive by them every week.
Right.
They're sitting there. So what do we need more for?
Well, you would have to contact the sheriff department.
These are all rhetorical questions, but if we're gonna actually get serious about lowering the federal debt, I think we have to start somewhere, and I've preached from this wonderful not a pulpit, but this thing here before, that we have to get serious about this, because we're about to raise taxes again. So we have to really get serious about this, and if we're not, and if we just pass every grant that comes along from the federal government, are we really serious about this? I feel like I'm chasing my tail here, so I'll sit down.
We cannot be responsible for the federal deficit. We can
can when you pass this.
We can be responsible for our deficit, and that's what we need to be concerned about. It appears to me that this is a grant that if all the cities don't go with this, what happens? That's a good question.
The sheriff won't receive the grant.
And that would be prisoner transportation issues.
That's correct.
Not necessarily,
Yes.
because there's buses that sit there right now that can be used right now.
Say again?
I hear what you're saying, but you're arguing about something. You're talking about the deficit, and then you're talking about the operational side of the sheriff department, and the sheriff is going to have to do their job. This is a grant that allows, and you're talking about his budget, this is going to be part of his budget to help all the municipalities.
Not helping the municipalities, because they get brought there.
Okay.
It's the truth. I'm not telling you lies. I mean, it's the truth. But anyways.
Thank you. Next cards.
Last card is Stan Johnston.
I had my.
Oh, I'm sorry. Member Stokel.
Yes, no, I'm trying to track. I think where Trenton's coming from is your own philosophical views on you want to lower the federal budget. You feel like the county sheriff's department has enough in their budget to take care of this issue. Yes, and no, and I get that. I think I know where you're coming from, which I appreciate that. The dilemma that I find myself in here is when running the city is we're very much for grants because we want to lower the taxes for the citizens of Titusville. So that's where I'm coming from. And so anytime I see a grant opportunity, I'm for it. In theory, what I would hope happens is we get grants from federal. It can help to lower and keep taxes lower in Titusville. In turn, also with us partnering with the county and the sheriff's department, in theory, they would be able to reduce their budget. I know you're saying you see these vehicles, but we really don't know, and you might know because you maybe work closer than we do, what those are there for. Are they operable? Do they have the manpower for people to operate them when we have people in Titusville transporting, people in Palm Bay transporting? Like, do they have enough staff to run this? So there's a lot that goes into it from an operational standpoint. So I just want you to know that I get what you're saying, and I'm all for lowering as much debt as we possibly can. I just don't think that, again, and we'll probably disagree philosophically, I don't think that us
Question:
passing
what if the
this.
federal government said no more grants? What would the city do?
Right.
We wouldn't get them.
Yeah, we wouldn't get it.
I
and we
mean,
would
but if you're working for public education, which I've done most of the life, when you see the word grant, you write that grant and you write what you got to do to get that grant,
Is it-
because
is there right now?
I'm going to get free money. Now, if the government doesn't do that, excuse me, if the government doesn't want to do that, that's up to them and we don't get the grant.
It's not free
But if we're negligent and remiss if we don't apply for
not free
grants that
money,
are going to
Mayor.
help us.
Respect.
So we'll agree to
You need
disagree.
to
We're
advocate at
good.
with congressmen. You're at the wrong.
Grant is the key.
ad-
It is, if it's a grant, it comes to a school or it comes here, so you won't see it in the city budget. All right, here we go. Next.
Stan Johnston?
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsettia Avenue. I want to first of all just go over a little bit about this 8B that Trenton, or whatever his name was talking about, is that it's not free money. No, it's not free money. And
If it doesn't cost me money, it's free for me. If
Yeah,
it's free for
you
the
may- it's free
city,
for you, but it's
if
free-
it's not going to
not free
increase
for the
our
taxpayers.
deficit,
It's
that's
not
get,
free-
I
it's not
get
free for
federal.
me because I pay
When I
taxes.
get to vote on federal things, I'll vote on federal things.
Yeah, but-
I vote on city things.
But the city of Titusville, what they did is last year is what they did is they voted for a $10 million project to upgrade their recycled water, removing more nitrogen and phosphorus. Now it's up to 13.7 million. So we got 3.7 million added to that. Maybe it's only 2.7, but anyhow, it's 13.7 million. Last time 13.5 million, excuse me. And I'm not sure what it is now. That was what a couple months ago, 13.5 million. So the thing is that if this project, if this 8B is saying to buy another vehicle, I think what we're saying is that does Ivy need this other vehicle? Or is he just filling out a grant and getting another vehicle that'll go to auction someday and was a waste of money? Because we see, and I see, and he sees, that the government is wasting a lot of money, a lot of money. So anyhow, let me go on to the ideas, the comments that I have. 8A, opposed, Mr. Robinson, okay. 8D, opposed. 8E, neither. 8F, neither. 8G, opposed. 8H, opposed. On 8B, I mentioned that is because I'm requesting that you table it to find out more about it. If it is indeed what it sounds like what he's saying, if it's for another vehicle and they already have all these vehicles, I would oppose it. Don't do it. Does Ivy really need that thing? He's changing his budget right now, is what I was reading in the newspaper. So he's doing a good job, but does he need that? So let me mention this, is that let me group 8A, 8G, and 8H together and read this to you about this. It says, here's what it read. This is Libby Levette. She wrote, I had days worth of migraine, nausea, and other reported vomiting, headaches, rashes, and even a few who went to the hospital with MRSA. Not to mention the utility workers, that's the city of Titusville, utility workers who were exposed to COVID, likely through the sewage as they worked to repair it. Of course, they were exposed to a lot more than that, like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, all kinds of bloodborne viruses and pathogens and toxins and so forth, and waste and PFAS and whatever is in our sewage. So that's what she wrote. And then here Libby Levette, Stell Bailey wrote, she said, I had a similar reaction. I had burning eyes, ears, nose, throat, severe headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. That's because of what you guys did. Please remember that I also have pre-existing health conditions, et cetera, and lung disease and so forth, exacerbated my health conditions. So those are things which is back here on this. It says, well, I have it says sewage spray and so forth, and it has also got to do with this one right here. This right here is what's happening. And just recently, July the 19th, there was a candidate speaking, Mrs. Jolene Nelson. She spilled the beans on you guys. She spilled the beans on you. She said that by golly, after all this time, it's been well over a year, and then finally she says that she left that the city left the fountains on, and she approved that because someone in FDEP, some anonymous person in FDEP said, let's do it that way. It's cleaning the bacteria out of the water. It's aerating and so forth like that. And she couldn't disagree with anyone. But anyhow, so I did a request for official request for records and so forth. And Mr. Stauffer can't find anything in writing about it. But all of you guys have kept this a secret for well over a year from me and many other people of why you didn't turn off the fountains for 4 months, spraying my friends, women, children, and babies with sewage. So I'm having a problem with that still, because what the thing is, what are you doing now? Look at that, 106 PPT. We had a meeting just this last time.
Stop the clock. Tell me what you're talking about on this consent.
I'm talking about
what number?
Those particular items are all under the jurisdiction of someone here, and that is Mr. Stauffer.
Yeah, but that specifically, you call the number, tell me what you're going to say about it.
Okay, and that's what I said. I gave you three numbers. Three numbers, okay? And that's Mr. Stauffer. In other words, he's handling this. In other words, I called, I sent all kinds of emails to him, and he never told me what Mrs. Nelson revealed. And she spilled the beans on all you guys now. So now we know that Mr. Jordan was responsible for his decision because somehow he was either conveyed by our wonderful city manager or our wonderful public works director that it's okay to do that. But I can tell you right now, if I can get that guy's name, and frankly, I've already filed a complaint against Mr. Stauffer, that is nonsense. And for you guys to do it's nonsense too. And I hope someday I see all of you in court about this, because it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault that these people were continuing to spray, because it makes no sense at all to anybody that I can speak of in my family. Then why in the world the city of Titusville would do such a thing? And why in the world, in other words, on January 12th, we had this big little meeting and so forth, and Mr. Stauffer at that time told about how he continued putting sewage into the river after December the 19th. And yet what we did, we signed a consent order that said we stopped it on December the 19th. And yet on January the 12th, he said we didn't. I've got all kinds of photos and stuff and witnesses and so forth that it happened. And as I told you just before, I went to the police department, I went all over. Nobody would do anything. Not even the hospital. Not even Mr. Jordan, another civil engineer. So anyhow, these three items, I'm certainly against them, because the person who is handling them is, as far as I'm concerned, is what I've written you. I sent you an email, and the email says, evil, danger, nonsense, and outrageous dishonesty by Director of Water Resources, Mr. Stauffer, and City Manager Scott Larice. Please add, revise, correct 176 parts per trillion of PFAS to meeting minutes of July the 26th. In other words, your meeting minutes, erases it too. It eliminates it. In other words, I talked about it, still talked about it. The meeting minutes that you approved, which I cannot talk about until now, until sometime, is that what you did is you completely ignore it. Right there. Right there. In other words, you're talking about 7 parts per trillion. He talks about 7 parts per trillion, yet I gave him all kinds of emails, and it's in the Guardian. It's in national news. Titusville has tested water for 176 parts per trillion. And here Joe Robinson's talking about 7 parts per trillion, along with Mr. Stauffer. If you repeat exactly what he said, 7 parts per trillion. Not 176, 7 parts per trillion. But the Guardian, the national news, said 176 it was tested at. So I talked to Stell Bailey, who worked with with the Guardian on this article, and I asked her, why in the world would Mr. Stauffer talk about 7 parts per trillion, which is another report? Why would he do that? And she said what? She said, I don't know. She was supposed to meet with Mr. Diesel or something. I don't know if y'all ever met, but I mean, after the meeting, y'all talked about it. So in other words, this is what I'm getting from Mr. Stauffer, and what I don't get anything from Mr. Larice, except nothing, is that that's why I'm opposing these. Now, let me go on to some other ones. The resiliency 8D, I oppose that also. And that has the resiliency is something that the city of Titusville's falsified a report. It's certainly unfair to do that. They falsified a report about the drainage to the St. Johns River, which is the city is violating that, and the city just falsified it. I gave them all this information, and they just didn't include the information they said they would. They didn't do it. That's what's called dishonesty. So anyhow, can I have one more minute, please?
I see none.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Anyhow, we got 17 out of 18 states that we exceed now on that 170.
Any other cards?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve consent agenda items 8A through 8H.
Second.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes. Consent agenda passes unanimously. City Manager?
On to new ordinance number 28, 2022, which is the removal of wild date palms as canopy trees. And the city attorney will read the ordinance for the record.
Ordinance number 28, 2022, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances to remove wild date palm, Phoenix sylvestris, as a permitted canopy tree by amending sections 30-393, landscape material size requirements at time of planting, and landscaping technical manual, section 5.2, trees and shrubs, canopy trees, 50 feet to 100 feet HT, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
At their 9 March 2022 meeting, the TEC recommended the removal of wild date palms from Table 1, Section 5 of the Landscaping Technical Manual list of approved canopy trees. On 10 May 2022, City Council approved advisability for staff to proceed with the code amendment. The proposed ordinance amends 2 sections of the codes to delete all references to wild date palms. The Titusville Environmental Commission considered this ordinance at their 15 June 2022 meeting and recommended approval as written. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this ordinance on 20 July 2022 and recommended approval 7-0. And Ms. Busak is here to answer any questions that you may have on the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 28, 2022.
Anything you want to go with? And I don't think there's going to be a lot of questions up here. I very much like, and I said this last time when it was the first reading, that I appreciate the fact that the TEC and some members of the TEC individually have spoken to us, and that we're paying attention, both staff and council. And I think it's a good move of collaboration with the TEC and planning and zoning. I think it's an easy fix, and I feel like I was educated a little bit about maybe it's not the best choice. So with that, we have any cards?
1 card, Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnston, a special thank you to Laura Lee Thompson for promoting this, and she did a good job. And it looks like you're going to approve it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned her name at the last meeting when this came through the first reading. I think she's the first one that told me about that. And then I think Miss Kay, she told me about it. So a lot to be learned, and I'm pleased that we did. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve ordinance number 2822, removal of wild date palms, Phoenix sylvestris as canopy tree.
Somebody else going to have to be a second.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Stokel. Roll call vote.
And Mayor, if I could, before you vote, this will be Ms. Busaka's final agenda item.
Whoa.
So.
You're going to leave after this?
You have to stay till the end.
Then I'm glad you did that, sir, because my little words in the end aren't going to mean anything.
And I know that Peggy has some great experiences, and we'll reflect on some of those at her farewell on
Yeah,
Friday.
that'll be great.
But I know Peggy got to share a lot of time with council and a lot of time with us, and I think one of the memorable ones was the 4:30 in the morning meeting. We won't all forget. But we wish Ms. Busaka the best in her retirement, and look forward to continuing to dialogue with her in the future.
Outstanding. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few words up here, and there'll be more on Friday, so I'll be very brief, but it's just going to be very odd. I've been here since 16, which isn't a whole long time compared to other things, but I don't know how it's going to be, whether it be sitting over there early, sitting over there, or sitting here. It's just, the next word after it's read is Miss Busaka. And the number of times, I always look forward to your summaries or your guidance. And certainly you have refereed a few discussions, and you have played umpire a few times, and you have given as much as you've taken. And I admire that about you all the way around. You're professional, you're knowledgeable, you're irreplaceable. I say that to some people, not all the time, and not all the people. But it's one thing to say that you're moving on and someone else will be there, but you can't say you'll be replaced. You're not someone that can be replaced. Someone else will take the position and they'll be great. And I'm not even going to get into all that. The person will be super. But Ms. Busaka, that term cannot be replaced. The confidence it brings, the knowledge it brings, the comfort it brings with Ms. Busaka. So thank you for being here, and you will not be replaced. Member Stokel.
True. Well, I won't be here on Friday because I'll be at the Florida League of Cities meeting, the conference. So you said you look forward to the summaries. I always look forward to what kind of smart comment you will make, or what kind of underlying trick you got up your sleeve. I think one of my favorites was when we were doing the medical marijuana, and I remember sitting down, and Peggy had prepared these nice brownies for us with green little flakes on them, trying to imply something. Yeah, it's always something. Snacks up here for us, something. She's just very much a giver, brings a lot of light and joy, I think, to the workplace, which I appreciate. It's definitely a tough job that you're in, navigating multiple personalities, coming in, developers, applicants, us on council who can be a little crazy sometimes, and trying to decipher what we're saying to you and being like, what did they just say? I just really appreciate you, just your hard work and dedication. And to the mayor's point, you're definitely not replaceable in terms of what I think you bring to the city, and you will be missed greatly by me. And I appreciate all the times that you have spent hours explaining things to me over and over again sometimes to make sure I could understand things. So thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Wow. It's really hard for me because I believe in relationships, and I believe in having relationships with people who have a kind heart and light spirit. And to me, you're an extremely smart person, a great sense of humor, very knowledgeable. And it reminded me of a Bible verse about a virtuous woman. And one of the lines says, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. And to me, you're the epitome of that. I'm going to really miss you for sure.
Member Nelson.
Oh, I get to go? Okay. I usually keep getting to go after the vice mayor. What I remember when I think about you is sort of like when we were in the middle of the tree ordinance. Remember all those, wailing and gnashing of teeth and, oh my God. And all of a sudden you said, okay. It was like clairvoyant. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish, what's the most important, and what comes second. And it was like from there, You know, it was like 2 years of anguish and trying to figure it out, and all of a sudden it just fell into place. And I was like, well, what a smart lady.
Yeah.
Because I think you saw what we were trying to do and you made us put it into words. So Brad's a wonderful guy. I don't know if he has that ability. I'm not sure he's clairvoyant yet. It may take him a couple of years. So many people have come up to me and said, we are going to so miss Peggy. And I think all of us up here are going to miss you. So you may have to make guest appearances. Yeah. Yeah, move to Titusville. I know where you can find a good apartment.
We'll save you a seat right behind Stan.
Okay.
What? You good? Member Robinson.
Yes, Peggy, I probably can say that you and I have worked together on many more projects than some of us from this particular point of view. And I can personally say you were a jewel in helping me do the job that I did for 24 years for this community of Titusville. Any project that I was working on that I needed to understand how to get it done legally and sometimes legally. You touched this community through the office over on De Leon, through my office at North Brevard Charities, more than you could ever know. And I spent a lot of hours in that little room up there down from your office over the years. And I can say that we were always successful in getting the project done somehow. And the community, for what little I've done or been able to do in this community, I give thanks to you from the community of Titusville and what you have contributed to it. Thank you.
City Clerk, you want to say anything? No?
May
Go
I,
ahead. Yes,
may I
please.
rebut? Thank you.
It's just beginning.
I'm not very gracious. My mother-in-law always said to me, can't you be more gracious? So this is very difficult for me to hear all of these things. And I think if you talk to anybody who knows me very well, they will tell you that I am more irritated when you say nice things to me than when you don't.
Ooh.
So I'm doing my very best. But I will tell you that the city of Titusville took a chance on me when I came here. I'd had a previous employment, and I understand that it was difficult to take someone who had previously been in a high level of responsibility and ask them to do an entry-level job. And that's how I came here. And I cannot tell you what a blessing it has been for you to take that chance on me. And I have never regretted this. It has been a wonderful 10 years. I'm sorry I came here at the age at which I did, or I would have stayed longer, but I'm old and I need to go. So I just want you to know that one of my favorite memories is about those brownies. I had told Mr. Larice I was going to do it. Many things I tell people, they don't believe me. So I got out the coconut and I brought it home and I said to my husband, I'm going to take this and make it look like marijuana. And he said, Peggy, you don't know what color marijuana is, which I did not. So he had to dye it for me. So I put it into the brownies and then I put it on a plate and I didn't tell you who it was from and I just put a napkin on it. my favorite story of that whole thing, and I won't tell you, but I know one of you knows who said this. Someone leaned over to the city manager, I was told, and said, "You know, we can't eat this yet." So, so I very much appreciate that. I also want you to know that in a previous job, my boss came up to me and said, "By the way, I have your letter where I'm going to fire you. I know it's for insubordination, I just don't have the date yet." So Mr. Larice and Mr. Broom have put up with a great deal of insubordination, as have you, and I very much appreciate that. And finally, I'd like to thank you very much for reading all of those letters that my mother wrote aloud. I'm sure that many of the things you said were written by her, and she appreciates it very much.
Very good. And like I always do before we go forward, is there anything else, Ms. Busaka? Anything else? Now I forget totally where we're at.
You've got a motion and a second, so it's just
We already have
time to vote.
Oh, that's what I was doing. That's where I was. Okay, so Member Stokel had the second. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. City Manager. See you soon, Ms. Busaka.
If I had a mic, I would drop it.
Bring that Friday.
We are on to item 10A, which is ordinance number 2922, 2022, establishing code enforcement lien reduction process. This is the first reading, and the city attorney will read this for the record.
Ordinance number 29, 2022, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending Chapter 31, Article 5, Code Enforcement Board Special Magistrate, by amending Section 31-71 Administrative Fines and Liens, by adding a subsection creating a code enforcement lien reduction process, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, incorporation into the code, and an effective date.
This is the first reading. The second reading and public hearing is scheduled for your regular city council meeting on 23 August at 6:30 p.m. And if you have any questions on this item.
Council, anything? I see no questions, and it's any cards, please?
Stan Johnston?
Stan Johnson, 861 Saturday. This is an important issue, and I've been to these special magistrate meetings before, and it's sad. It's sad that we need something to reduce the penalties, because it appears to be too strict, and some people, like they'll have for example, something wrong with their roof gutter, or their a tarp on their roof, and then they'll say that then they'll be charged with saying you have to get a building contractor to do the work. You have to hire them, and if you don't do it within 30 days, we'll start a penalty of, like, say, maybe $50 a day or something like that. And with just a number of things, it seems like to me it's just a nuisance. I mean, these are called nuisances, but the thing is, some of these penalties, they kill these people, and just like we've had the. Anyhow, I'm going to ask you to, when you have it done, is you have somebody like Lynn Tolson or somebody to explain what's going on, because it's an important issue. Thank you. That's all. Just bring Glenn or somebody. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards? All right. That is the first reading. No action needed. Old business.
No old business. We are on to new business, item 12A, which is a solid waste rate review, and Mr. Cook is here to provide a presentation to council on the solid waste.
All right. Good evening. As the city manager said, this is the annual rate proposal for solid waste. Just a reminder, these will come back to you during the budget process as actual ordinance changes to the code that codify our rates. But just to kind of overview just what we've seen the previous year, our proposed budget, projecting our rate needs, and then showing you the comparisons of our service areas and actually giving you some options. Just some observations. All our tonnages are up. Residential's up a little over 1%, commercial as well. And our recycling is actually up around 4.5%. Just to put that in perspective, the last 2 years, all of our tonnage lines are up 7% overall. So we're getting a lot picked back up past the pre-COVID time frame, especially on the commercial side. So proposed budget, our revenues are down about 17%. Changes, as you see, taking our reserves way down. Transfers are up, bringing more over from stormwater for the service we provide, and street sweepers. Charger service is up. Our intergovernmental is down through some of the repayments that come through for gas tax and so forth. The refuse division, which is our 1512 division, is up about 12% overall. The salaries are up about 11%. Personnel services up around 10% overall. Operating is running about 15% up, with insurance cost up about that same mark. And the fleet budget's up about 17%. Just to give you an idea, our fuel cost this year is 120% higher today than it was in October for our diesel trucks. So we paid around $30,000 in October. We paid around $60,000 in July for fuel, just to keep the division moving. Parts have doubled as well. They're at 103% through the course of the year, current year. Recycling side is down. One of the things we have seen is there's a recycling market, so we are getting some value out of recycled goods now. So our waste management contract, who Recycle America through Waste Management, who handles our recycling processing, we haven't been paying them as much. So this division has reaped the benefit, and its budget reduces around 23%. Salaries up around 12%. To keep that in mind, it's like 3 employees in this division total. Operating's up down about 40% in this area.
Before Kevin continues with this, recycling has lost money several years, probably 5 or 6 years, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of cities, especially cities our size, just discontinued it. Council, I'm really glad that you didn't, because it has rebounded, and it does provide a service that is valuable to our community. So we weathered the storm for right now, and I appreciate your support on that.
So non-departmental is down about 45%. Professional services are down slightly. We do have a carrying project for our fleet routing, where all trucks are being routed through digital processing now from paper. Almost finished that implementation. That brings up slightly. One of the big carriers there is our insurance is up around 33% on our property insurance side. With IT down, a large sum makes up for a lot of that. And our debt service is reduced about a quarter. We haven't taken on new debt. The last 5 trucks we bought have all been cash. So no debt there. We aren't doing any heavy replacement in this cycle. Most of our vehicles are catching up. The ones we've ordered haven't gotten here, but they are catching up. So just to give you an idea of our service breakdown, about 43% of all our costs run through the commercial side, including a share of the bulk collection and street sweeping. 36% run through our residential refuse, 18% through the recycling collection on the residential side, and about 3% through commercial recycling, which is not nearly as heavy as the residential side. And I do lump yard debris in the recycling costs, because for the state reporting purposes, yard debris is a recyclable material. So just running down some options you'll see on the next chart. We built the budget on option 1, which is an 8.26% increase to all service lines, which is the CPI April to April. That will match what you've seen for stormwater for the year. That is a little different from what we normally do for solid waste. Solid waste comes later and doesn't have the assessment rolls, so we were able to come later, which is option B, which is what we normally do as a June to June, which is actually increased to 9.06. July comes out tomorrow. I suspect that's not going to go down. But that is our traditional is the June one, which is option B, slightly more. So what I gave you for option C is to keep the budget neutral, but putting a limiting factor on the residential side. So limiting the residential to 587, which is CPI for garbage and trash collections. That is another national measure, which the recourse is the commercial side picks up the difference to keep the revenue neutral to the fund. So we'll go through that on the next page. But again, just to recap, the budget is built on A. So the proposed budgets you have correspond to the 8.26 rounded to an 8.3% increase to all service areas. So residential impact currently $13.88 is our monthly fee, $167 a year. Pardon. So option A, which is what the budget is built on, yields 1380 increase on the year, so $180. 8.29% is the rounding of all the cents included in that. Option B, which was the higher CPI slightly, yields $15 a year, and option C, which was the limiting factor on the residential, is a little less than 10. So just giving you the chart. The yellow one is Titusville existing. We are slightly above Cape Canaveral, slightly behind Sally Beach. All three options land us in the same place between Sally Beach and Melbourne. For a footnote, these are their current rates. They will all be having increases from Waste Management, Waste Pro, Republic, whichever their contract vendors are. Rockledge, the other public vendor, has already built a 3-year 5% rate increase into their structure. But we're the lower end of the residential group for the single families. So just flipping to the commercial side, option A again is what the budget's built on. A 4x1 dumpster, kind of one of our common service areas, a little less than $100 increase per year. Option B goes to $107. Option C, because they would be picking up the difference for reducing residential rates or holding them at a lesser increase, raises to $185 a year for this particular service area. Commercial, we've always been on the low end of the commercial spectrum. We stay in the same location regardless of the choice of the options there. Still well below, I would say our measuring stick is normally Brevard County, which would be our neighbors here. There in the waste management, I think we're roughly $1.50 behind them per cubic yard right now, with some other odds and ends in the charging system. So just in summary, on the single family side, option A yields $1.15 a month. Option B is $1.26. Option C is 81 cents. The impact to commercial, because of the way commercial is, it varies between the size and the pickups. It's a range, so the lease impact would be $5.80 a month to $78 a month for A, $6.30 for B up to $85, and then C would be from $11 to $149, which is an 8x6 dumpster, which is by far our largest dumpster, getting picked up every day that we provide a service. And we just asked for some direction on if there's any variation from the proposed budget, which again is option A, 826 across the board to all service lines. So we have some direction in building the next ordinances in place for the upcoming budget meetings. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Real quick, because we have had discussions, and I've actually passed that same word around that recycling is losing money.
Mm-hmm.
That's turned around as of this year, or is that the proposed projection?
Well, no, recycling, we're finally not paying our recycles. The recycling side of our house in general loses a substantial, we bill out $1.20. If we were to try to break even, that's probably more of a $6 charge. It would probably make up more than half of our rate if we actually charge for every bit of the recycling share of the cost. And our dumpsters would go up substantially as well, because the commercial, we don't overcharge the recycle side. The difference is we used to pay Waste Management about $100,000 a year to simply, that was our loss. They get a fixed fee every ton we take to them. They take, I think it's $55 a ton is theirs. We make money when they sell it for more, but either way, we pay them the $55. And what was happening was our sales were at $40. We were paying, in some cases, $3,000 a month to process the recycling through their center. What's happened this year is, I think for the past 6 months, roughly, we've gotten a positive return. So they may be selling a commodity, the total blend at $60, and we may make $500 to $600 a month, which is better than what losing the $10,000 previously. But the service still is a service loss. It's an environmental benefit more than it is a break even. The material sales will never pay for, they wouldn't even pay for the staff that runs that section.
Very good. And obviously there's the proper thing to do is the recycling thing. I think that's one of the reasons we hung on to it so long. And not until you guys tell us we're just losing too much would we ever consider, I think, doing away with it. So at this point, I'm glad to hear it's turning around and things are getting better, and we're at least at that break-even point. Yeah, that's awesome. Member Stokel.
Yep. Okay, so with the recycling, we're not raising that rate, correct?
Yeah, they're going up the same. At every option there, we're matching refuse rate increases matched on the recycle side. So the whole
Okay.
scale slides together.
Okay,
So.
But we're not, as you said, we're not losing money now where we were before. Like
Yeah,
they
we're
get,
not, the rate is still needed to, and the refuse side is still paying for what is recycling cost. The rates on the refuse side, if we were to look at dollars on each side, the recycle rate's too low, the refuse rate is probably where it needs to be. But either way, it's a bottom line rate increase,
Okay.
whether we shift the line to one or the other.
Because remember, the enterprise itself is, as long as it's making money or breaking
yes,
even,
yes.
then we're okay.
Okay. And then just, you might not know this. Do you know with the cities that do contract with Waste Pro or Waste Management, how their contracts typically are outlined? If they do a 3-year or 5-year, do they have built-in rate increases typically, or are they locked in at a certain amount for 3 years, locked in at a certain amount for 5 years?
No, normally, they sign decade contracts.
Okay.
And when the county signed their newest contract, it was a 40-some% increase up front. And then they have escalation every year.
They still raise every year.
Yeah,
And
I believe the county's waste management contract has a 3% lock-in built into it.
okay.
So they have a specific, and this is what they pay waste management, not what the county collects. The county collects administrative fee on top of for their assessment side. But most of them sign a decade contract, and that rate will escalate every year.
Okay.
The county does have their collections are set, I think, for the whole 10-year term, what your assessment will be, not what they pay their contractor, but what they'll take in as a county.
Okay. Makes sense. I don't,
And the other add to that is the whole model is once I get out of the business, I can't get back into
exactly.
it.
Which is my point is I'm glad we do our own, and because especially with inflation right now, I would hate to see or contracts up for renewal, and because of inflation, we're going to have to raise to whatever, and you're just going to have to pay it at that point. So,
The second thing is during inclement weather,
yep.
if those of us that were on or you that were on council, Kevin's team did a great job of using all vehicles, all hands, and we had things done well before even waste management began.
Yep. No, Kevin, do you remember what the rate increase was last year?
A little less than 3, I believe.
Okay. And then my last question, which is just really more of a statement, these fees go on the water bill.
Yes, their monthly fee.
Yes. I mean, so just for transparency purposes, when people say my water bill's going up, no, it's water, it's recycled, solid waste. We include a lot, and that's to save taxpayer dollars for efficiency purposes. So I want to be clear, just for the record, whenever somebody says my water rate's going up or my water bill, it's a lot on there. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Member Robinson.
Sarah asked my questions,
Okay, Sarah, way
and
to
I
go.
wanted the explanation that was
Appreciate
there.
that.
Very good.
Very good, thank you. Member Nelson.
I was just looking at our different options, and given all that businesses have gone through the last couple of years with COVID, I would hate to say, let's choose option C and limit a residential increase and pass that on to the businesses.
Yeah, I only included that to give you guys an option. It wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, these
We
are
built
didn't
the
really
proposed
expect
budget
us
on
to
that.
these were the courses of actions that staff considered,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah,
recommended course of action A.
Oh, good, because I was like, I hope he's not.
No,
Really
we built the
thinking we're
budget
gonna
on
take
A,
that.
which is matching our increases in stormwater, which was the CPI comparison April to April.
Yeah.
No, that was just given as an option if the council chose to restrict the residential increasing, giving you another measure to choose from. Back to the contracting, there are some communities that don't contract commercial through their same vendors, and they let that run a different course. And one reason why I see Palm Bay's number so high is they do that, and the commercial is 3 times what ours is because they're allowed to run an open-ended contract. So yeah.
Okay.
So that was just given as an option. It's not, we look at it as a fund. If the fund balances, which we have a balanced budget, that's what our goal is, to balance the budget. So
Okay. I was going to say, of all of them, option A actually seems to be the fairest.
thinking that's the budget you have in your hand right now is option A.
Yeah.
So.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, it was, I was in a dilemma here since I have a commercial business. And I'm looking and I'm saying, what? Even though to me it still was reasonable. I mean, $100, it's not going to make or break you, but it's still.
It's an impact.
It's an impact for sure. I'll have to up my margin or something. I might lose a customer, so I can't do that for sure. But I think our option A is the right one, in my opinion. Everything is costing more for sure, and you guys have done a great job. And I've told the city manager, even though we had trucks that was broken down and everything, I don't remember you guys ever missing. And it's very much appreciated for sure. So.
We'll be back up to 3 on Friday. So
3 on Friday, there we go.
I have a couple operators who'll be happy to see more trucks back on the road.
I'm sure, for sure. But you all have done an excellent job. And I think sometimes we as citizens, we take the services of the city for granted. And actually, it really should be like that, because anything, when you're doing other stuff, and this is not your line of business, if you will, it should be like you're turning on your lights. You shouldn't have to even think about it. And I think because of your processes the city has, it's like turning on the lights. It's almost automatic. It's going to be there for sure. And even though you have challenges, you have made it transparent to the customers. And so what we need to do is to make sure that we're definitely operating in the black. And I think with this budget that we're looking at, it certainly does that for sure. So well done, my mind. Thank you.
Well done. I like the options. I like the thought that went into the options. Member Nelson.
And I was just going to point this out, since I pointed it out to the city manager. When we have problems with equipment, like everything breaks and everything's in the shop, it's really good if we could put it on the website. So people aren't calling and saying, hey, my garbage hasn't been picked up, and we're having to explain it over and over again. The trucks are down, there's no parts, and I think what one person said to me is, we'll just rent some trucks. And I'm like, I think that's a problem, there's no trucks to rent.
We looked at that option. The first available truck that we could lease was in December.
Which isn't a whole lot of help.
No, but not today, no.
No, but I think that, I passed it on to the city manager, and I think that helps. This person was waiting for an inspection from the Air Force, and so he was trying to make sure everything looked really tidy. And so he was calling me and going, where's the garbage truck? Where's the garbage truck?
No,
Kevin will pick it up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it.
And our staff does take, while it's nice to disclose the shortfall, we take a little more pride in the fact that we can survive without and make the system still work the way it's supposed to. Because most of our calls range from, if I'd normally get picked up on Monday, well, you didn't get me on Monday, but we're going to get you on Tuesday. Yeah. So a lot of our drivers took some pride in that people are so used to them being on time that missing it one day actually threw people off. But we tried our best to keep up with. And we were running one actual truck built for it and 3 of our container trucks that are made for really just remove dumpsters and a whole lot of staff time. But Sheriff City Manager, 2 years ago, it was our side loader fleet that had issues and parts and things. So this time it was the front end loader fleet. It kind of is a cycle that happens. But we pull it together and get it done as best we can.
Yeah.
And I think we stayed ahead of it pretty well on the commercial side. And like City Manager said, we'll be up back to our minimum truckload by Friday.
That'll be great.
I tell you what, one of the coolest things I ever did was early on, I went out on a ride along with one of the sanitation trucks. And matter of fact, this week I'm going out with the fire department. I'm hoping to do the police department in a couple of weeks, and certainly there's excitement in all of them. I didn't last 2 hours. I was getting sick. I mean, it's like, woo, woo, woo. I'm like, good gosh. I mean, literally, maybe 3, but I'm thinking it was more like 2 hours. I had the poor guy have to take me back to the parking lot where we met. And every time I see one of those trucks go down my street, I think, man, that is not as easy as people think it is. So, and boy, they are so good at, and man, he was showing off for me how good he was with that little grab thing. And again, I have to say, and I said this when we went out there, the number of people that come out of their door to say hi to this particular driver, it was just, they just love him. And I think, as you said several times in your talk, they take pride in. They take pride in being on time. They take pride in making it work when they're short-staffed and short equipment. And they take pride in having relationships with the people they go help. So it's pretty cool. with this, once we get to that point, we are accepting the presentation. Would that be a vote, et cetera?
Yes, sir.
Okay, with that, we have cards?
Yes, Stan Johnston?
I didn't want to see a sign up saying.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsettia Down, especially talking about the residential side. And I used to also be an employee of Public Works. Even before Kevin Cook came, we had some special things that happened. Chuck Taylor revolutionized us with the containerized, that was advanced of a number of other areas in our county. And I see that I'm in the opinion that some of his information that Mr. Cook has got is not truthful, because I think other cities are not giving all the costs that they are to their customers and representing them. And I'm hearing about extra cost here, extra cost there for pick up this, pick up that, and so forth. So I'm very pleased with what our city is doing and what Mr. Cook is doing. Very pleased from what I see. And I think we've got the best in the county, at least the best in a lot more than just a county. So I appreciate what the city's doing solid waste wise. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and it's better than what is recognized. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cook. We have Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve the solid waste rate review and also approve option A for our budget.
Do we do that now or at the budget?
Oh, that's fine. That just gives us direction
Okay.
to reaffirm what's
I think
coming into ordinance.
everybody has said that, so we'll continue on.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor. I have a second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
And that accepts unanimously. And thank you so much, Mr. Cook, for all you do and for all your team does. Thank you so much. City Manager.
On to mayor and council reports.
Hold on one second. One second here. We don't have petitions or requests? Anybody? Okay. Then we do get to do mayor reports. I'll go first and I'll be quick. This is one of my favorite time of year, and that is the beginning of school. And I think many of us have had opportunities to be involved with such. I went to the North Schools discussion. The feeder chains to Astronaut High School all had a meeting. And everybody got to do a mini presentation, and I got a chance to stand up and speak how, we love our education and support it here. But I will say, I wanted to get this set out there, that the one thing everybody who stood up and spoke, now this is every school that feeds into Astronaut High School. Krista Miller did a great job of putting that together in their media center. But every school from Oak Park to Mims Elementary to Pinewood to Madison spoke of the need for volunteer mentors. And it's been very difficult. One of the things I wanted to do when I became the mayor was I wanted to have this mayor mentoring program. Well, then 2020 was when I got to be the mayor. So that got shot down. And then 2021, it wasn't good. It was back and forth, wear your mask, can't come in. So I'm thinking this is going to be a great year for us to get out, not I'm speaking, but anybody to get out and get into the schools and mentor. I went to two back to school events on Saturday. One, again, Astronaut put on at the main pavilion. It was outstanding, and it was tremendously hot, but it was great. And then I went to one that a great basketball player in Titusville High's history, Reggie Hanna, who passed away way too young. His daughter does that every year, and it's over there off of Tom House Boulevard over there behind the buildings, behind the businesses. And it was not the big one, but it was very important, and she was very proud to do that for him. It's the 5th time she's done it. So I like to go to those. Tomorrow morning, I will start off at Imperial Estates Elementary. I will then go to Titusville High, and then I'll go to Jackson. Just for the record, last year I went to Oak Park, and then I went to Astronaut, and then I went to Madison. So I guess the best way I can do it is alternate it, because it's very difficult to get to all those schools. So I'm going to try to get over there and just let them know we're supporting them. Let them know we're there. So with that, tomorrow morning is a big day Everybody drives safely because the students and the buses will be out again for the first time in quite a while. I'm going to go right to left this time. We'll start with Member Robinson.
We didn't do anything. I mean, with the mayor and I and the city manager went and heard the sheriff and the school superintendent speak down at Cocoa Beach High School. That was, I enjoyed that,
I did too.
And the only thing that I can say about it is that all of that needs to be brought north and put into the schools, and I hope it's, according to the superintendent, is equally spread throughout all of the schools, but that is our hope. But the presentation was good.
Absolutely. That was outstanding. Member Nelson.
Okay, 2 seconds. I was at a meeting at the Boys and Girls Club Monday, and they're starting their school year. And so they were letting me know that they had 65 kids over the summer. The kids learned how to swim, which I thought was great. And so they're looking at adding more kids next year. And then I went by Mutter Realty downtown. I was just walking downtown, and Jimmy was there, and he said, "Come on in. That place is gorgeous."
I need to get in there.
Yeah, it was really pretty. A whole change from the old building that the foundation sat on sand. And I kept thinking, a good wind could blow this over. Yeah, he did a beautiful job. So if you get a chance, go by there. It's pretty.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah. Just to reemphasize what you said, my school starts tomorrow. We got a lot more students than we had last year, for sure. But we just need to remember to be safe, drive slowly. There's going to be a lot of kids on the road, a lot of kids on buses. And if you have any people who need a job, you certainly need a lot more bus drivers in the public school system. And I think the public school system is down like 143 teachers. So if you have a BS degree and you want to at least substitute, then I suggest you do that. We don't want to dumb down our kids at all. Kids, education to me is one of the #1 things that we have to guarantee to all our children. So just everybody be careful, and I look forward to a wonderful school year.
Okay, I guess that's everybody. Oh, wait.
Someone's got jokes tonight, and I got a 30-minute presentation. No.
Member Stokel.
I was going to say, thanks for touching on the substitute teaching, because I am signed up to be a sub, but Fridays are my only days I can do it because of my job. So there is definite need. So if anybody can, and they up the pay on sub teaching as well. Dr. Mullins, I didn't get to go to the State of the Schools, but he spoke at our Space Coast League of Cities meeting last night and gave a condensed version, and it was really nice to see. I really appreciated the security aspect, too, and partnering with the Sheriff's Department, and it was nice to see how many Titusville officers are SROs in the school system. Right. Also, I'm sure you guys are aware, Bart is retiring from FPL, and Michelle Murrell is taking over for him. So if you guys know Michelle Murrell.
I know that.
Yep. And I'll be at the Florida League of Cities Conference starting tomorrow night through Sunday to hopefully represent Titusville well there. I'll give you guys a report when I get back. And then lastly, Mayor, this is mostly to you with your Mayor Mentor Program. I'm definitely interested in seeing, what that would look like and how we could maybe market that as a city potentially to kind of help be like the lead charge of that, because I feel like with our community, we are heavily involved, and if we can spearhead something as the city of Titusville, and market it as the Mayor's Mentor Program and try to encourage people. I know a lot of people have retired recently.
Right.
Trying to help them get back and still stay involved.
I think this is the year. First of all, like I said, I came in to be the mayor in 2020. Well,
Right.
I kind of knocked that out of the water. 2021 wasn't any better as far as getting into the schools. Not much anyway, if it was. There was no time for me to try to get people to join my mayor's mentoring program. So it really has been a vision of mine that's been squashed.
I like it.
This looks like the year. And then when I went to the astronaut feeder school meeting and astronaut. I mentioned that to some people, and they're just dying for mentors. And as Vice Mayor mentioned, that we're short on teachers. I won't mention the school, but there was one school I talked to in the North area that was 12 teachers short. And that, and some of it's good for the people because some of them are going to the Space Center and making a different bit of a career change. But our schools are in great need of substitutes, mentioned bus drivers, teachers, and the one thing we can do is mentor. I mean, I cannot believe how much they want us to come in there. So I'll get with you or however we can do that legally. And that is, I'd like to have some ideas of where to go to get the members for the mayor's mentoring program and
Maybe
again,
even
base it from the city.
partnering with Eastern Florida and having some of the college students doing it for service learning, getting into the schools potentially. I'd like to see us kind of expand on that idea.
I'd say in the next couple of weeks, because what I want to do first, and I've got a good idea having been at the meetings I went to, but talk to some principals individually. What are you looking for? How would it look to you?
Right.
Because I don't want to come up with I've been there inside long enough to know that when someone comes up and they have a program, you might want to ask me what I need. So I'm going to talk to them more and then
We'll circle
and then
back.
see, and I'll even get with city manager and see if we can't some way work out possible city employees or, during lunchtime or something. I don't know if that'll work or not.
Yeah, we've done that before. We actually had a lot of community development, and some of our public works guys actually participated in the middle school mentor program. I think we had at the peak before COVID, I think we had 12.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's.
Okay.
So if we could get that going, part of the base would be city employees because I want it to be kind of the city cares. And that would be good, but I think we can definitely use EFSC, excuse me. So thank you.
Yep.
And the retired teachers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't forget them because,
I haven't seen them in a while again because of COVID. I
Yeah.
spoke, city manager and I actually spoke at the retired teachers program. Was that before 2020? Goodness, that may have been the last time they met. You good? Thank you, ma'am. City manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, just as a reminder, our budget workshop is a week from today on the 16th of August at 5 p.m. You have your read-ahead slides, you have your budget book, you have the transmittal letter. So if there's any questions that council may have before the budget workshop, please let us know. We'll be available to answer any questions that you have. And then the public hearings are scheduled for 14 September at 5:30, and then the final budget hearing is scheduled for 22 September at 5:30. Subject to your questions.
All right. Anybody questions? I see none. City attorney?
I don't have a report, sir.
Okay. Well, if that's the end of that ball game, with that, I will adjourn the meeting. I guess we'll see everybody next week at 5 o'clock.